My name is Jared and I am with Ada Custom Computers. We are based in Fort Worth, Texas. I have been building and modding for 4 years, and I am a solo operation, so I'm the only one who touches these builds, and I am involved in every aspect from the mods to the custom paint to building cables and finally component installation and building of the loop. This time last year I was working in a regular job and building was a hobby, like I'm sure it is for most of you. Alright, well, one of the problems that I had was that information wasn't consistently available, and the information that was available was older and outdated, especially for wiring guides. For pinout, one of the goals of this channel is to share some of my experiences and yes, even some of my failures, and trust me, I've done my fair share of stupid things. I intend on doing build logs and hardware reviews. I am a hardware guy, so component selection is important. I look for two things when I do a build: performance and aesthetics. I use all House of Color automotive product for the finishes. I also airbrush, and that is something we may get into with this channel depending on the comments that I get and the feedback that I get from you guys. I'm not sure how long the videos will be. Right now, just leave suggestions in the comments. I'm thinking 10 to 15 minutes for builds like this, which are already done, and I want to say about 30 minutes for build logs, so that I can get a little bit more in depth into some of the modding that takes place, so I can give you guys a little bit more information. I do realize that build logs run longer, but I will also try to keep them from getting too long. Alright, let's talk about components. For the graphics card, I went with an XFX RX 480, the 8GB version. The only reason I went with this card is just because of the PCB size. I mean, I love that PCB comes out to the end of the motherboard tray. But as far as that goes, that's really the only... I'm not a fan of the RX 480s at all. I'm not a fan. But that PCB just looks absolutely amazing, sitting butted up right next to that motherboard tray. So that's the reason I went with that. For the motherboard, I went with the Strix, the Z270i. Just strictly because EK makes a monoblock for that. I always feel that you need to cool your VRMs if you're going to overclock any system. Samsung 960 EVO M.2 SSD, 256 gig. It's about $130 right now on Amazon, so that was a no-brainer. I went with 16 gigs of Corsair Vengeance LPX, the DDR4, and the factory specs from Intel from the 7700K that's in there are, I want to say it's 2666 megahertz, so those are 2666 megahertz. Silverstone SFX power supply. This power supply is so easy to sleeve. It is so easy to sleeve. Most of the pins are just straight pin for pin, and there's just two 24-pin connectors, no 18 and 10 pin on the power supply side like you see with the larger power supplies. So it was probably one of the easiest ones I've ever done, and the cables came out just beautiful. Cables are sleeved in MDPCX. I want to say it's the platinum gray and the lava orange and just straight black. The links, I want to say it's about 13 inches. Originally, I'd actually had to remake these cables once before because I had done 10 inches for the 24 pin, and it just came out way too short and it was too tight. Unfortunately, with MDPCX, because it is a plastic, it tends to be a little rigid when it's shorter. So if I had to do this build over again, I would actually go with paracord, because paracord is going to allow you to get those really tight bends in there. And just, I didn't like how the cables came up too far. So next time I would definitely go with paracord. Alright, let's talk about the paint. It's a two-tone. It's House of Color Galaxy Gray and House of Color Molly Orange. And this Galaxy Gray, I absolutely love that color. I mean, it just has such a good flop. When you look at it from the side and the light hits it, those metallics just sparkle. And it was really easy to lay down. I've been painting for a couple of years, and I've learned, if you're a novice painter, to use metallics, because metallics will actually cover up a lot of imperfections that you may have, and it'll just hide that you're not so great of a painter. So you're gonna see a lot of metallics from me, and that's the reason why I use them. Hopefully, you know, once I get a little bit more time in the booth under my belt and get a few more paint jobs, I'll be able to start doing some candies and some I would love to do a black chrome. Hopefully I'll get a chance to do that. I went with, okay, one of the other things I was going to say about the paint job, if you notice, everything's real flat on it, and that was something that I was really picky about, was just making sure that everything was flat, everything was smooth. Your eye is going to be your best tool. Your eye and your hand are going to be your best tool on that one, especially working with the plastic feet. And the that plastic's flexible, so you need to make sure everything's really flat on that one. I do use 2K primer. I do it twice. I actually go ahead and do it the first time as an epoxy sealer, and then the second time I'll not add reducer, and I'll go ahead and I'll get the build out of that one. And once I'm sure that, you know, after I've guide coated it a few times, once I'm happy with my results, I'll go on ahead and spray base coat over that, and then clear. And, you know, I only use 3 coats of clear, 3 coats of base, 3 coats of primer every time. But that primer is where you're going to get your build. And House of Color makes a good primer, KDA series, that allows you to spray it as an epoxy sealer. And like I said, when you don't run it with reducer, it'll give you that build that you want, so you can get it straight and flat. But alright, let's talk about performance. As I stated earlier, I'm running a i7 7700K, and it's overclocked to 4.9 gigahertz at 17%. I am like I said earlier, I'm running factory specs for Intel's at Intel's recommendations. So the factory specs for the 7700K is 2666 megahertz for the DDR4 memory. I've only got 16 gigs in this system because it is a mini ITX system, and truthfully I just had a budget and I couldn't justify spending $400 on a 32 gig kit of 2 sticks, so I just went ahead and just went with the 16. And truthfully, I haven't really had any issues with bottlenecking or anything. I haven't really found much that will give it a hard time. They'll stress that RAM. So I've only run Battlefield 2 on it so far, and that was fine. I'm sorry I didn't get any gameplay for you guys on that one, but I will definitely include gameplay in the future. I run Heaven's Benchmark. I do run Ada64 Extreme, and I actually do have a screenshot of that one that I'll include towards the end of this build. And overall, this was just a fun little system to build. I mean, I'm actually looking forward to doing another one in the future. I'm thinking that I really want to play around with that 8700K and see what I can do with that one. I want to see what a 6-core is going to do, and thankfully all the components like my monoblock and everything will fit on the Z370i, so I've already done the research on that one, so I can just go ahead and buy all the same components that I bought from Amazon the first time, and I just have to upgrade the motherboard. That's it. Upgrade motherboard and CPU. I can go with the same RAM, same M.2. Something I didn't mention earlier, I went with, for the storage, I went with a 2 terabyte 2.5 inch notebook hard drive from Seagate, and I actually love this. Hard drive. I mean, it's only about $84. It's sub $100, and you get 2 terabytes and a 2.5 inch drive. I want to say the thickness of it is about 7 millimeters, so it is really tiny. And although I did get mixed reviews as far as customer feedback goes on Amazon's website, I haven't had any issues with it. So maybe I just got lucky and won the Silicon Lottery, or I don't know who's to say the next one I get won't have issues, but I got 50-50 on the feedback, good and bad, so I decided to go with it, and it hasn't let me down yet. One mistake that I made, and you can see it right here with the perforated holes in the side panel. I didn't realize it at the time, but you can actually just flip the panels around, and by doing that, instead of being in the bottom right hand corner where it's at, it'll put it in the upper left hand corner, and that'll be in the part that you cut out when you're doing your side panel window mods. So something I'll definitely do next time, and I'll know better next time to do that's possible to get rid of that and cut that out. But for right now, it's pretty cool. I mean, it gives a little bit more airflow. You see I don't have a case fan in there. I'm only running 4 fans, two on the 240 and 2 on the 280 in the rear, which I have a Hardware Labs Black Eyes GTS 280 in the top, and a Koolance 280 radiator shroud above that, and it just fits in perfectly right up underneath that little plastic piece or whatever it's called. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for viewing this video, and please leave a comment down below, and a subscription is always appreciated as well, and just let me know what you guys think. I mean, this is my first video, so obviously there's a lot of things I need to work on, and I will work on making that better with your feedback. So again, thank you for viewing.